That was rather a long break. It's 2 days later now. Right, this one. And it matches a very early report. This is annoying, I don't know what the word is. A neighbour who witnessed that early activity and saw a cluster of women standing with first responder blankets draped on their shoulders, leaning in, hugging and crying with each other. You have a link that's pretty detailed and sounds interesting. I looked and looked and finally had to give up. I know the detail about the blankets is what stood out in my memory. I would say it was in the first 24 hours when we were still wondering what could have happened, and the names had not been released in those early hours. I think I was just looking at the Facebook pages of our local newspapers here. I have been told the stalker was messing with cars and Wi-Fi, and it could be even more. I didn't ask for details on what he did, but the police didn't react, I'm told, because no harm and no damage. Oh, well, there was that one, wasn't there, which was on King Road. I saw it on, I forgot the name of that YouTube channel. It's not one that I've looked at many times. If it comes back to me, I'll tell you. And you may know that I think this girl had been home or something, as in parents' home, or been away and come back, and she hadn't got the stuff out of her car or something. Yeah, she got a suitcase in her car, and her suitcase had been thrown into the road. Something weird was done with her knickers, panties, her underwear, her underpants. I can't remember what it was. And it was like this person had pissed about with I think this was after then. They'd messed about with, they'd kind of, something in the dashboard area, some mechanics somehow, I think, damaged it. But I don't remember if it was after. I feel like it was after, because I feel like I thought, oh, there's somebody still around then. But I don't know for sure. I would like to come back to you on that, and if I don't, please harass me, because I've got a lot going on. Right, I don't know what this is. No, but I'll try to get that answer this week. Kaylee, Dylan and Bethany, I'm told, all saw him. Oh, all saw the person messing with the cars and the Wi-Fi, I presume. I'm told neighbours heard the dog barking from approximately 3 till 4. Interesting. That doesn't go with a PCA, does it? For your information. My opinion, that the perpetrator let the dog out, did the crime, left door open, and dog goes back inside. The dog is barking outside because he can't get back in. Dog was in the home when police arrived. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he was actually in that room or if they just put him in that room to get him out of the way. I think that the doors were shut on the rooms, Xana's and Maddie's, so I don't think the dog could get into the rooms. So there wouldn't be any DNA. They did say they checked the dog, but and there's some kind of, I remember on Truth and Transparency, Lana saying it didn't seem like they had enough time to check the dog, but then it seemed like the dog was missing, to be honest. So I don't know. Because of if you look at it might not be Murphy, but if you look at the police logs, then you can see that they don't usually take a report when it comes to they don't take a report on many things, but they did take a report on this animal, something to do with the animal shelter. Animal missing from the animal shelter. I don't know. I'd have to. I know it. So if you look at there's a video with the police logs for that weekend. If you look at that, it's in there. So assuming they did check it for DNA, there might not be any DNA on it if it. It could have disappeared for a bit, and then as the back door was open, made its way back in. Or it might just have made its way back in and the doors were closed, so there wouldn't. I think it was contained to the rooms, if we're to believe that nothing could be seen and they assumed unconsciousness. But they assumed, that Xana had bumped her head, apparently. And Ethan was, and they wanted to know where Ethan was. So maybe Ethan was somewhere where they couldn't see him, which means he couldn't have been behind the door, or Xana couldn't have been in the bedroom if they could see Xana. Had they just assumed she bumped her head, or was there something that made them think that? Anyway, or was that just not true? I have it on good authority. Cousin is a cop in nearby town, but called in to help in Moscow once school started back up. Right. Apparently, the investigation is looking directly at the Sigma Chi frat party Ethan and Xana attended from 8 until 9 that night. He did not have any update on their timeline after they left between 9 and 1:45, but did say it looks like the investigation. I heard that he... Now, did I read that before? Because it's 2 days ago now. But that he went to that... I think I did. So Ethan went to a thing with his sister, a weird sorority fraternity dating thing where he's dating his sister. I don't know what that's about and why Xana wasn't going to that. But what? I don't even understand. Can anybody fill me in on that? Where am I? But did say it looks like the investigation is honing in on 2 suspects from the party that night, and an update should publicly name them by the end of the week. Neck brace, just in case you're wondering what the noise was. Sigma has made their socials private and removed all info from Facebook going back a few years. They believe Ethan and Xana were the main targets stemming from an argument that night. Downstairs, survivors could hear 2 males rummaging. Downstairs survivors. Oh, the downstairs survivors. Right. I am not sure. I think I might have said this as well, whether she actually was downstairs and they put her upstairs. Maybe she was in with Beth. Beth, I don't know, I'm going to Beth. Bethany. Beth's my sister. Extra information. So, downstairs survivors could hear 2 males rummaging through the room above them. Figured it was an after party. See, I can't see Dylan coming out of that room on the second floor and shouting, because if you're shouting, you're more likely to be shouting up those. Can you just imagine it, picture it in your mind. Can you imagine her coming out of that room and shouting? And how likely is it that there's a party it's more likely that something would be going on in the living room than would be going on upstairs. If you're assuming it's a party or people are partying, I don't think you're going to think they're up at the bedrooms upstairs. You might do, because we did see a couple of people on the balcony before, but I can imagine them shouting from downstairs, and maybe that's even why Dylan was down there in the first place. Maybe there just was a party going on. Dylan's and Bethany end up going downstairs to crash and get away from the party, or there were people around at least. Lost where I am. Figured it was an after party, locked the doors and went to bed. Maybe locked the front door. When they discovered them in the morning, about 30 minutes before the 911 call, they called their friends at Sigma to come over, who in turn, because this doesn't make sense, locked the doors, figured it was an after party. If this was accurate, they're downstairs, she figures it's an after party on the second floor and then goes and locks the doors. Well, then she'd go upstairs and know it's not an after party, because she'd have to go and lock that door. She must only be locking the one door. They called their friends at Sigma to come over. About 30 minutes before the 911 call, they called their friends at Sigma to come over, who in turn called the police. Now, if they really were downstairs, then I think they could have slept in. I've slept in loads of times. Like, I've slept at like 5 p.m. when I was a student, if I was out all night. You know, I was partying all night. But we're to believe they went to bed. But we don't know what they'd been taking, what they'd been drinking. We don't know if people had been drugged, because the way that Maddie was, that was, I don't know. It just felt so different from Kaylee, and I know that can be the case, but I didn't feel like Kaylee had even drank, and people said they thought she was drunk, but I think she's playful anyway, so I don't think you'd only be able to tell if she was staggering. I think she was just somewhat animated. I didn't get a drunkenness from her, but it's right across the street. What's right across the street? Oh, Sigma. And for whatever reason, they believed it was people from Sigma upstairs around 2:15 that night. Back door was left open. One dead in bed. The other blocking their room's door with their one dead in bed. The other blocking their room's door with their body. Police just updated their Facebook to reiterate they are not looking into the activities of that night, only the murders, which to me suggests something went on, fight, drugs, etc., and spilled into anger later that night and got them killed. Also, didn't want to release profile they created as it would cause undue fear in the community. Matches what I was told as it relates to how they saw Xana, no blood, and ran downstairs and called the police right away. I was also told that night, while the friends were out, Ethan got into it with someone and told them to stop hitting on the girls and being creepy. I assumed he was at the bar and it was about Kaylee and Maddie, but that message to me could be about Xana and her sister at a fraternity gathering. Just sharing, but why was he dating his sister if Xana's at the fraternity? Just sharing what was sent to me. I wonder if they, I mean, what if they, you know, people, I don't know if you've ever had a boyfriend or girlfriend that you were like always, you had kind of a relationship where you ended up breaking up and making up a lot. I mean, who knows if that could have happened. But then again, Mr. Canodle, this is kind of weird, thinks they were at home eating pizza. They clearly weren't at Sigma Chi eating pizza. I mean, they could have been and lied that they were at home. But when she's saying home, I think she's saying home, I think she literally means home. And I just don't think, I think Ethan was living there. But then why? But no, they said Xana and Ethan went to this party. I'm not sure what's going on with the sister and the dating thing. But that message to me, I've got a bit stuck on that, I'm afraid. But that message to me could be about Xana and his sister at a fraternity gathering. Just sharing what was sent to me on the Monday after the murders. Interesting to say the least, and thanks for sharing. So that's where the towel thing came from. So yeah, apparently somebody said, I think I've already read it, that the killer, the perpetrator, wrapped the knife in a towel. I mean, I'm just interested to hear DM's full story. Clearly loads missing if any of this is an indication. The idea that Ethan was missing is weird. Were the doors closed? So many odd details. Yeah, so were the bedroom doors closed so they couldn't see him? But why would they think one of them, only Ethan, was missing? I mean, what if they could hear Xana and that's why they thought she bumped her head? Like they could hear she was still alive. They could hear her moaning or something. But they couldn't hear Ethan and they're like calling and Ethan's not answering. So they're assuming he's not there. Something I remember from early on that stuck out to me was that someone said that DM was on drugs. This is interesting. And she thought she had seen a man in a black mask, but wasn't sure if she was hallucinating, tripping, or if that's what she really saw. Let's have to enlarge this. I did hear a similar version of this in the first days after the murders regarding what one of the surviving roommates saw. He was not at the top of the stairs. Why does she think at the top of the stairs anyway? Who said anything about top of the stairs? When's this? Oh, that's interesting. December the 4th. He was not at the top of the stairs. Why, who thought that at that time that he was at the top of the stairs, but outside her window? She thought she was seeing things, maybe hallucinating, for lack of a better word, and went into the other roommate's room across the hall. The rummaging she heard later, I don't know if they've all swapped rooms around. And we've been told that's Dylan's room just because of that bloody footprint. Because we know that from Truth and Transparency that it appeared to be Dylan, that it did appear to be Dylan's room. And I thought, oh, they've said she's downstairs just for convenience. But they didn't say it, did they? That was just leaked, I think. Well, I thought they had said it and leaked it. But maybe it wasn't through law enforcement that it was leaked that they were on the bottom floor. So maybe that room wasn't spare downstairs anymore. They could say that because they knew on their footage, and perhaps that's even the purpose of the people being able to see that one footage where you can see through the window. I don't know, maybe not, because that's like not that noticeable. Not everybody caught that. And that footprint, they need somebody to be witnessing this person walking out the double glazed doors so that footprint can be included. Inculpatory, is that right? The rummaging she heard later was what she thought was just her roommates having people over late, small party, get together after being out. There was probably was, but mate, it just turned into something else. There was a neighbour outside on the scene as emergency personnel were arriving that heard the roommates saying these things. I saw several pics early on of forensics taking pics of this window and dusting for prints. So, one of the windows downstairs, then this must be. Maybe the killer was looking for entry into the home at that point. And we've been told he knocked on the window. They knocked on the window and asked to come in. But that might be something that's become exaggerated. It might be that they just saw somebody pass the window and, Chinese whispers or game of telephone where things become embellished and it turns into masked people knocking on the window. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. It's hard to know, isn't it? Heard this roommate saying these things. I've read that bit. Maybe the killer was looking for entry point, yeah. That would make way more sense. Someone outside in the dark sounds like something you actually could convince yourself you didn't really see. Especially, this must be after the PCA comes out. I don't know why it says December the 4th. Especially if they were gone, if you checked again, or went and got your roommate to check. God, I feel so bad for those girls if that's what happened. So creepy, but the investigators did pay. I honestly think they've just thrown Dylan under the bus because they had leverage. They may have had leverage in the sense of that she didn't report it till later and put pressure on her. And then they've got her saying she's outside her at the door on the second floor. I just wouldn't be so quick to make assumptions with Dylan because we don't have her statement. We have an interpretation of it. And, I've looked at cases before and we've all said, like in the group that I was in, how you've just got this written report that's basically written a statement that's basically written by whoever was interviewing or interrogating the person who was then convicted. And it's like, well, why is that not recorded? And you're like going, well, they could write anything. Well, that's like this PCA. They can pick and choose and they can frame it how they want. And are we really believing that they wouldn't twist something? We've seen what they're like. We've seen how they operate. Look at how they were just pouring all that alcohol was on their property. They're just boldly pouring it away. They know they've got body cams on. They don't give a shit. They just think they can get away with whatever they want, and they can. They can. Because they've got everybody believing exactly what they've written in that PCA, and they've thrown this girl under the bus, and they must have caused, if that is the case, they will have caused so much trauma, and her mental state will be a mess. So creepy, but the investigators did pay a lot of attention to that downstairs window that first day. Yeah, this would make even more sense, right? Just read that bit, okay. Is this the same bit? Yeah. Okay, right. Now this says December the 4th, 2022. Back to the original rumour out of Moscow, now with new context on 911 call and insight on use of drugs being rumoured. Final edit. In reference to a roommate hallucinating, she did not actually hallucinated. She thought she hallucinated or her mind was playing tricks on her in the dark. So everyone commenting that you don't actually hallucinate real life people while tripping. I know. It's speculated she actually saw him, but at first thought he was not real. If she hadn't hallucinated before, she might think she's hallucinating. So she might not know that you don't see real people. I mean, you don't know that unless you have done previously. May have taken drugs earlier in the night and chalked up what she saw as not actual events, just being tired. This is Moscow, Idaho. Taking drugs or not, the first thought of an intruder in your home is not what would come to mind. That's not how we feel about Moscow, Idaho anymore. We feel like that is what would come to mind. But back then, maybe not. All of this stance was on speculation, not actual hallucinations from taking drugs. Just the thought she might be hallucinating to make sense of seeing someone at 3 a.m. 3 a.m. Marking as info because it's speculation around town. Still a theory at best and not confirmed. One of the very first rumours I was told in town was that the two... Oh God, what does that say? It must be the two surviving roommates went into one room and locked the door until morning before calling friends over and then the police. The rumour started so much speculation and head scratching at the beginning, like if they heard something, why wouldn't they have called the police? That's the same one, and that's it. That's my vitamins. Right, we don't want to see those. Well, that's it for that. But after this, I then came across a website that I've never come across before, and it's a forum, and I found it absolutely fascinating. Listening, as if I was just listening in, reading the conversation, because it starts off when with them completely hook, line and sinker, as we all did, just thinking, yeah, they've got, they've just thinking, yeah, it's just because they just called him a student, didn't they? And I was just thinking he's a student from the same university and not realising it's somebody from a different university. Not everybody looks in, everybody was looking into I expect you were in the USA, but in the UK maybe not so much. It wasn't a big thing over here. I think there was more of a big thing when he was caught. And then it still wasn't that much of a big thing because of the Nicola Bulley case. That was a massive thing in the UK. So, but this conversation is so interesting because it starts off with them going, yeah, he's sort of saying, oh yeah, he looks like he's creepy and all that, right? But they didn't say it like that. It's really funny. Like, it's actually funny the way they speak. Like, some of it I did laugh, because although like some of those things, you know, when people, I don't like people jump into conclusions about somebody from the way they look, but some of the things did tickle me a little bit. But it really, they really turn round, and then they're really questioning it, but it's quite amusing, and it's like, I think it's like really much more critical thinking and more thinking out. I don't know, like they sound really, I felt like it was quite an intelligent people, and to begin with, everybody seemed to be on the same page, and then it kind of turned a bit towards the end of when I was reading it last night. I literally took screenshot after screenshot, screen grab, you call them, don't you? One after another. My God, I've used up so much of my phone space. So I'm going to need to make a video about that soon and get it off my phone. Because it should keep me entertained last night whilst I was experiencing my customary insomnia. So, right, I'm going to stop blathering now, and that's the end of that. So, interested to know thoughts on different things that have been said. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to hear people's opinions. And I will catch you next time. Take care.